Hey, how's it going, everybody? Jordan here, and in today's video, I'm going to do a Q&A for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And honestly, some of you included a little bit of personal questions. I'll briefly go over that. But in general, these are all the questions that you had for me that I asked for you a few weeks ago on my community post. And these are in general, I get tons of tweets and questions all the time, and I figured I'd cover some of the main ones that I get asked most often. So for the first one, we have Hydrogeon. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. How old are you? What do you do for a living? And what are your plans for the future? Well, I'm 27 years old and I have a web development background, but I'm a product manager mainly and a product creator. So I love making web apps and different things like that. That's kind of what sparked this whole YouTube channel, was my build creator for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I still really love doing that stuff. And I plan to make more apps, even some stuff for you. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But mainly what I'm doing right now is my YouTube stuff. And I'm really enjoying that. And a little small thing to learn about me is I'm an Arizona sports fan, especially the Arizona Cardinals. I know this is like a little shout out right now, but to get the personal questions out of the way, I love the Arizona Cardinals so much in sports. So if you watch the NFL, leave that in the comments of this video too. But let's get back into it. David Lolo, not going to try the end of that. I feel like I'm going to butcher it. Asked, do you think Assassin's Creed is leaving what it originally was? It's not that the game is bad, but I don't feel that secrecy is needed when you can just have open fights everywhere and not even try to be stealthy. I would agree with you, David. Past Assassin's Creed games, especially like Brotherhood and Revelations and AC2, were very much synchronization based, kind of linear. Yes, they had open maps and open worlds, but the storyline was very linear. And if you got seen in a certain area, it would completely restart the mission. And the whole goal was to get full synchronization. And what you've noticed with Odyssey and Origins is a complete gameplay change where the choice is up to you. It's a very fluid, open map, and it's a lot of like check boxes where you're just trying to jump from place to place. So it has completely changed, and I would consider these to be completely different games, but the mechanic that they have added to them, I think are pretty fun, because I used to play games like Diablo and building and optimizing your character, and so I think that that's what I really am drawn to about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I really like the most. I don't feel like I'm playing an Assassin's Creed game. Jarg asks, what do you love and what do you hate about Odyssey? I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. What I love about Odyssey is kind of like what I mentioned, is the building and the gear optimization. And honestly, the ancient Greece open world, even though it's not like a true to form ancient Greece and it's a very mythical version of it, I still really enjoyed that. And I've been kind of waiting for a game kind of like that. And so that's what I really like the most. What I hate is potentially the story and the repetitiveness. For example, spoiler alert, at the beginning when you're told that you're about to go hunt your own father, I was sitting there and my wife was right there and I'm like, hey, guess what? Guess who I'm going to have to go kill as a mercenary? And she goes, what? Like, your dad? And I'm like, okay, well, if she predicted that, then the surprises and the bad things are not like as big of a deal as I thought. So the story could use a little work. And I think that the modern storyline really clashes with the RPG element of Odyssey, which makes it weird. I feel like they just need to kind of focus on one. Like, you either need to kill the modern storyline and really go into RPG mode and really kind of compete with like The Witcher and things like that, or go back to the way you were with Assassin's Creed, take the choices away and keep us in a linear storyline. Because when they try to give us this customization but force us into characters like Cassandra and Alexios and things like that, I feel like the story gets a little washy there. And then just the repetitiveness of having to go from location to location in the late game to like clear things out. I know they came out with conquest battles and things, but what do you expect from a single player game that you put over 300 hours into? At some point the game's going to feel repetitive. Next, Beard Power asks, what period in history would you, if you could, pick for the next AC game? I really like the Vikings theme. Partially, I'm really excited for Cyberpunk 2077. That bleeds into, I think, a really cool Assassin's Creed game could be a futuristic, modern one. And the reason I say that is it leaves open a lot of creativity for the people making it. Joel asks, what's the best method for getting drachmae? Selling bows. Bows sell for the most amount of drachmae in the game, so sell as many bows as you can and you'll get a lot of drachmae. I also have a video kind of covering these next few questions, and you can check that out in the description. How do you get materials fast? Again, you're going to want to dismantle all your unused armor and weapons, especially swords and daggers. They give you the most materials in the game, so that's how you get it. Just go clear forts, clear leaders, and dismantle all the gear. How do I level up fast? What you're going to want to do is just pick passive contracts from message boards. Go to message board, pick up a lot of contracts, and you're going to complete multiple at the same time, and you're going to get a lot more XP that way, and that's pretty much the way to level up fast. They took the XP glitch out, so you can't level up that way anymore. But overall, you're probably just going to have to really focus and play on the game. Trojan asks, if you had to do a playthrough with only one active skill, which would it be? Multi-shot, because I think it just blankets and kills everyone very quickly. At what level should I start focusing on finding endgame gear and start farming? I recently started playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. What you're going to want to do is look at endgame builds like the builds on my channel and look at those perks and keep that epic gear with those perks on your ship. You can store 350 items on your ship or on your person. And so instead of just dismantling and selling gear as you come because it's not fitting what you're using currently, holding on to gear that you've found helps along the way. And it's potentially some gear that you could use in the future. Best obtainable weapon for mid-levels, level 20 to 40. It's going to be the Falx of Olympios because it's in the middle of the ocean. What you can do is swim to the bottom and immediately loot it, and you can have it. That 100% damage and 25% health cap perk really helps with assassin builds, which I think are the best builds early in the game. What's the best weapon for levels 70 through 90 without the DLC weapons? I'd probably say the Atlantean blade for the 30% armor penetration. That one is retrieved in a quest. You'll probably should have access to it around 70 to 90. Or the daggers of Cronus, which also give you 40% damage from behind. So those are the two legendary weapons that I think are the best. The number one weapon and armor set in the whole game. I think the best armor set in the whole game is the Greek hero set. Not because it deals the most damage, but because of the fact that you can make it overpowered and invulnerable. And the best weapon to match with that is probably the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus, but I just mentioned earlier that I really like the Atlantean blade as well for the armor penetration. But the Staff of Hermes Trismegistus, because it gives you that chance to ignore half damage when matched with the Greek hero set, and you're in story mode for the game. You can just walk around and do anything, no one can really hurt you, even on Nightmare. How do you get ideas for your builds? They just kind of come to me. I'm not trying to sound like cliche or anything, but typically when I'm just playing the game recording footage, I'll come across a piece of gear and I'll just see how the perks are laid out and go, oh, that's something interesting. It's definitely starting to become overplayed, so I'll get around to some other stuff, but there is still some days where I'm like, you know what? Someone might enjoy fire and daggers or something like that. So I try not to like copy or repeat the same builds over and over again, but try to think of play styles and things that are fun to play. What do you like better on this game? Knowing you can handle anything or having a fun time because of the challenge? I like both. I like knowing that, but I like better the challenge part of it, especially the different play styles. That's why I've been really enjoying the legendary reviews, because at the end of the day, the epic builds are better. Statistically, everything, and anyone who you kind of ask who really dives into the numbers will tell you that an epic build is better. But certain legendary builds, because they're not as good and you can die or they make you play a certain way, make the game different and more fun. And that's what I'm enjoying about it now, is because the epic builds and the perfect stats can make you really good in Nightmare and make you really good at the game. And then after that, once you understand it and you can play around with different things to see how much fun you can have with it. Megadot asks, is there any reason to wear the same two weapon types, or is the second slot purely for stats? Yeah, they really kind of butchered the dual weapon things. I wish they would have kept the shield in from Origins. But yes, so your secondary weapons apply to your primary one. And me personally, I never switch between weapons. It makes way more sense to just have the same weapon type on both to amplify the damage of that one weapon type. And so there's a lot of legendary sets like the Arena Hero set that makes you use multiple weapons, and it wastes on overall damage, and it's not very optimized. Can you get elemental damage to apply with assassin abilities? No, sorry, elemental damage only applies to warrior and hunter abilities. That means that if you're building an assassin build, making sure you have assassin damage on there is the most important thing to make sure that you have all your damage that you can. What's your favorite build you have ever created? Well, this one's interesting, but I really like the first Civilization set in that build. Oddly enough, I really enjoy assassin builds, but the fact that I could be an assassin with that set and then turn on that Ares Madness ability and just quickly mop up a group of people was really fun. I had a lot of fun with that set, and it's weird. It's a legendary set. It's not my best in terms of stats or anything, but it's oddly enough my favorite, the one I really like to go to when I'm playing by myself. What is the smart loot system? How does it work? Thanks for the build. The smart loot system, it kind of got swept under the rug in a patch that they released, but essentially what they did is they released a function that you get gear similar to that of the gear you're wearing. So if you're trying to, for say, build one of the builds in the videos that I've made, even if you don't have the exact gear, if you can wear gear with similar perks to the ones that I'm focusing on, inevitably and much quicker, you'll get drops that have all the perks that you want on it that are similar to the ones you're wearing. So that's what the smart loot system is. What does the loadout function in the inventory menu mean? Absolutely nothing. I think this was a wasteful feature. Like, it was a good idea to kind of swap between builds, but they didn't really understand what builds are, in the sense that most of your time, 95% of your time when you're adjusting a build, is going to be clicking all the ability points into masteries and abilities. And so they don't let you store abilities and masteries to a loadout. So all you're doing is swapping out armor and keeping the same ability points, which is kind of useless, and it takes up a lot of drachmae to buy them. And so I have yet to really use the feature at all personally. What, in your opinion, is the best looking transmog set you have made? I really like my most recent one, the Executioner, because of the long sleeves and the hood. It looks really like an Executioner. It looks really cool. But my favorite from the long time is my original hybrid build that kind of looks like a ninja for Cassandra. That one I think looks really cool. What's the hardest thing to possibly accomplish in this game? Probably one-shotting Medusa. That took so many takes, and it's so hard with that set to do that. The clip makes it look real easy and real quick, but it took me a lot of hours to get that clip. Will Ubisoft allow us to get previous weekly ships? It seems somewhat unfair for them to just be gone, especially for players who just started. Yeah, I would agree with you. I really do like exclusivity for people who are there earlier, like in multiplayer games or things like that, but this is a single player game, and just because someone was early in the single player game, they get a different ship design than people who were late is a little weird. So maybe if they're watching this video, they'll have some sort of plan to re-release them for everybody or something like that. What graphic settings do you use? Well, I built my own PC, and it's a 1080 Ti. It's pretty intense. It can run 1080p Assassin's Creed Odyssey on max, but what I do change is I take the volumetric clouds pretty low, because you don't really notice the clouds all that much, and you'd be surprised at how much of a frame rate increase you get on the game if you're playing on PC, if you turn down your volumetric clouds on the game. I quickly wanted to insert another question that I get a lot, which I forgot to cover in the main video. How am I able to repeat mythical creature fights? Well, it's pretty simple actually, because they don't have a feature that lets you do this. So some people got confused. They're like, hey, is there a feature that I don't know about? No, what you're gonna wanna do is, before you fight the mythical creature, is go into your save file. Go ahead and make a save of your game. And then what you're going to want to do is fight the mythical creature, beat them, do whatever you want, and then reload. Come back in here after you fight them, click load, and then reload that save file. And what'll end up happening is you'll be back to before you killed the mythical creature. So technically, the mythical creatures have never been defeated on this particular save. I'm just filming or fighting them and then reloading the save before I fought them. And the last question from T-Rex, what is next after Odyssey for your channel? Good question. I picked Odyssey just because I got really into the numbers. I made the calculator, I made a couple videos, and it kind of blew up. And so obviously you can't play Odyssey forever. I'm already getting to the point where, like, man, what else can I squeeze out of this game? But a lot of you have been throwing good suggestions out to me. Obviously, I want to cover the next Assassin's Creed game. I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, but you can also also leave me suggestions of if you enjoy the structure and how I do my content and you'd like to see that for another game or something of that nature. Go ahead and leave that in the comments. I'd really appreciate that too. But also, I kind of want to make a web app, and so I'll tell you all a little bit more about that, but I'm working on a community web app that I think is pretty unique and pretty cool, and I'd love to share it with you guys at some point once there's something more workable with that. So that's it. Thank you all for your questions. If I didn't get to your question, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to avoid it. You can still join our Discord or leave more questions in the comments of this video. If there's even more questions after this, we can do another one of these if you guys enjoy it. It's totally up to you though. Again, I appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys are really awesome. Thank you for making it so fun to be on YouTube and something I've never really had a chance to experience, and I really appreciate it, and it's all because you guys watch it and you like the videos and things like that. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.